Welcome to it, sports fans, and football's coming home. That's what I'm hearing. Football's coming home. Welcome to the MKT Show. It's another great day on planet Earth to be alive. I'm feeling great, just great. Got up early this morning, where I live in the world, a little nippy, but I got myself sorted, started a bit of reading this morning. It felt good. I got to tell you, felt really, really good. 4:45, awkward time to be up, especially in winter. But it feels damn good when you get an early start and you get ahead of things. So I'm feeling great today. England fans buzzing. If you're on the socials, of course, they're back at it. They're saying football's coming home. Football is coming home. Hey, you got to get into the vibe. You got to get into the vibe. Listen, for so long, everyone's been locked away in their homes if they can afford such. And, you know, football, as it always does, better than anything else on planet Earth. I do love sport, but nothing is football for bringing us together. So shout out to the Euros. It's a little something where even if you are Liberian, you'll feel connected to somebody from Sweden, even if just for 3 weeks. So really looking forward to the festival of football that is Euros. I'm getting into it a little bit now. I have said it's like kissing your sister a little bit, but you know, we saw in Game of Thrones, you know, in these tough times, you got to take what you can get. And if you haven't seen Game of Thrones and you don't understand that reference, first of all, you're an idiot for not watching Game of Thrones. But secondly, if you have seen Game of Thrones, then we understand, and who cares what other people think. Speaking of other people, a man who has now chosen a path in life to say, being Afrikaans, that's not for me. I don't care what that community thinks. They can all go to hell. A man who has now chosen that he will influence coffee in Vietnam. A man who's shaved. A man who has stopped smoking, ladies and gentlemen. And a man who is in a fantastic, happy, flourishing relationship, I presume, just because he seems full of beans this morning and proud of himself for whatever reason. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, after aficionado, James Jimbo Illingsley. Jimbo, what's happening, pal?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm great. And
Good.
football's coming home.
Is it though?
I'm just telling you what people are saying.
I feel like it's not.
Really?
Mm-mm.
What's the story?
I don't think football will be coming home for a while. Maybe next tournament. Maybe.
Why? Well, why do you hate England?
I don't. I just they enjoy choking in the big moments.
They're like the Proteas cricket team.
Yeah. When the big moments count, they turn into a bunch of 12-year-olds.
So, was this always like a tension thing with your stepfather? For those who don't know, James' stepdad, one of the most British people to ever live. So at home, was it always like a tension point?
No, international football wasn't really a thing. The 2010 World Cup, it was a thing. But yeah, it hasn't really been like, oh, Spain's playing England tonight, we're going to win. Oh, we're like, good luck to you guys. Like, there's no banter about that. It's more about club football.
So, speaking of international football, did you go to a lot of the World Cup games or not?
We went to, I think it was Brazil, Korea.
I was also at that.
It was so cold that night. And then my mom got last minute tickets to the final, but she only got two, which she gave to my stepdad, and then he took my godmother instead of taking any of us. So he got...
And completely right as well.
Well,
you spoiled brats have done nothing to earn those tickets.
I wish I had...
Man she loves.
I wish I had prepped before. I wish I'd known you were going to ask me this question, because on that shelf over there behind me, there's actually the original sort of box thing that comes with the ticket, and there's a band because it was a suite ticket. It's like this whole box, and it's got the ticket and a booklet of the stadium and a bangle thingy, and I've got it all intact on top of this thingy over here.
James, please, you're talking to somebody who was sitting in a box for the final as well. You don't have to tell me what it came.
Yeah, it's the little green box, you know?
Ah, okay. No, I never got that. I just got in there, got hammered. But yeah, good World
Exactly.
Cup final. Anyway, so I'm glad your mom actually gave you something to strive for, and I'm so happy that you guys didn't get the tickets.
Well, look, looking back on it, it probably would have been heavily unfair if my older brother went without me, or if I went without my older brother. So, I guess.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm thinking your mom doesn't want to raise a bunch of brats who think they can get what they want just because they're her kids. Like, well, I'm going to give it to the man I love, and if you guys want to go to a World Cup final, you know what? Pay for it yourself. It's great parenting. My gosh, I love it. I mean, every time you tell me about your mom, I become a bigger fan.
My mom's the best.
Well, clearly, she doesn't want a bunch of brats who think, oh, it's the World Cup final tickets. They're going to get them over the elders. Fantastic parenting, and you love to see it.
I mean, in the moment you don't. When you're that age and you really, really just don't see any logic behind the decision, then it's a different story. But now looking back on it, I see all the logic, you know?
Yes, I do know. I've already expressed this. I do know, and at 16, 17, you have no logic. So this is why you need parents. But shout out to your stepdad for going there. And football is coming home, James. I'm not sure why you hate that fact.
I don't hate it. I just don't believe it. I feel like if football was coming home, this hype around football was coming home would have started immediately after the Premier League ended. Like, remember when football's coming home, like, originally started at the last World Cup, I think? That was going around for months before the tournament. And then kind of built up throughout the tournament. I've heard nothing. I haven't heard football's coming home once until today, Thursday, the 10th of June.
All right.
One day before the tournament starts.
Yeah, the tournament does start tomorrow. James, got two things to speak to you about before we get into the show. Yesterday, I had a very interesting phone call from somebody.
Right.
So he's been in a relationship for years. I don't know how long they've been going out. But it was his birthday on the weekend. And yesterday he phoned me, a man I've known for over 25 years. And I've never heard him angry before. But he was absolutely incandescent. Absolutely furious.
So now the question becomes, what did you do?
So he calls me and he says, it was my birthday on the weekend. And my lady gave me herself as the present, you know? And he was furious, dude. Like, he wanted to go out for dinner and, you know, and she went with the whole adult times as a present. So you as the man in a relationship, that whole switch, in terms of gift giving, do you kind of need to know your partner? What's the secret for people that aren't handsome like me and people that aren't in relationships? And this is a man who's been in a long-term relationship, by the way, and his girlfriend made him so furious, and they live together. So there's no running away from it. He was so angry that she thought her in a skimpy number was a present.
Yeah, first of all, I feel weird weighing in on your friend's love life.
No, well, in general. I mean, you can speak in general. Plus, I haven't said his name. So.
Okay, I'm going to speak in general and not refer to the party involved. I don't know, like in my experience, like with my current relationship, we don't do elaborate gifts. Like, it's gifts that are either like sentimental or like it's nothing huge. Like, oh, I bought you a 24 karat gold necklace. Like, that's just not something that we do. A, because we're too poor, and B, it's just like not something that like we base the relationship on. Like, there's not a lot of sort of gift giving. There's like random things. Like, she'll give me like a chocolate when she visits me or whatever. Sometimes it's random, sometimes it's to mark an occasion. But yeah, I guess it's just about how the actual relationship is as opposed to knowing your partner almost. Because every relationship's different. Like, some relationships thrive on like materialistic gift giving, other relationships thrive on going away for like one-on-one time on vacations or whatever. So yeah, it's all about love language, I guess.
Oh my gosh. So now your thoughts on this guy being furious at his girlfriend giving him, or she gave herself as the present, and he wanted to like go out for supper.
I think I would have I think I would have been less mad if I got her as the gift and then we still went out for supper.
No, like he said, the vibe was completely ruined. You know what I mean? Like, because you know what's funny? I don't know if you follow the Tottenham guy, Expressions Oozing.
I've heard of yeah.
Okay, anyway, so obviously, you know, our devices are always listening to us. And after I got off the phone with my mate, like, I can't remember if it was yesterday. Well, anyway, it was after we were on the phone. Then Expressions does this thing called X-Files. And he had exactly the same story that my mate gave me on the phone. It was, you know, it's crazy,
So weird.
how our devices are listening to us. Well, I mean, it's not that weird. We know as soon as you talk about something, I'm sure you've seen it happen, it'll pop up on your Facebook feed or whatever, right?
Yeah, especially Facebook.
Yeah, well, our devices are all listening to us, and whatever, I'm over it. I've got nothing to hide. I understand. I'm a customer. Whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, James, because I laughed. I was the worst person on the phone. I laughed because he's being serious, and it was a good 45-minute hour rant as to the list of reasons why he was, in his words, verbatim, effing furious.
Well, look, I mean, there's worse gifts to get on your birthday.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly that you got to know your partner or not, James.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know them, so I don't.
Well, in your relationship, would you be angry like one time if your lady all of a sudden didn't give you a gift for your birthday?
I don't think I'd be livid. I'd just be confused.
You'd be mad confused, huh?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was hilarious. I'm maybe the worst person to phone for that kind of stuff. I was laughing the whole time.
I'm not even surprised. I will never ever phone you for that kind of stuff. Ever.
Don't do it. I mean, yeah. So that's gonna be. I can't see that playing out well. Plus, they live together.
Oof.
So the way I thought about it was, it's clearly about something else, because you know when often we explode at somebody, especially a loved one, is sometimes it's almost like you were waiting for the opportunity to address 3 or 4 other things, you know?
I am very, very well aware of what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I imagine his life for the next 2 or 3 weeks is going to be him saying to her, yeah, plus this, plus
Oof.
your mom, plus your sister, plus you spent all that money that last time we were, you know what I mean?
Sounds ugly.
Yeah,
Sounds horrendous.
It's going to be dynamic.
But relationships don't have to be that hard, though. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm not in a relationship. I imagine relationships are hard.
Well, look, you are the one that's repulsive to women, so.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying I'd imagine that relationships are hard.
They're not easy, you know. It's a two-way street, and both of you have to make an effort, you know.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful message, James. That's a wonderful message. All right. Well, James clearly has no thoughts about my mate's relationship possibly falling apart. I'd love to know from people at home. I'm at MKT Inspires on social media. What do you do in that situation if your girlfriend or boyfriend gives you a present that you hate? Right? I'm not going to give my thoughts on what I do when it comes to presents. I'd love to know what other people do, especially people in relationships. What do you do when your partner gives you a gift you hate? Especially if you've been in a long-term relationship. I don't mean like 1 year, 2 years, because that's still honeymoon. I mean, if you like my friend, they are at least 6 years in it. If you like in a proper relationship, sort of 5 years, 4 years invested, what do you do if you hate the gift that your partner gives you? I'm at MKT Inspired on social media, Cliff C Sport on the Twitter, otherwise Cliff Central Sport everywhere else. Love to hear what you got to say. Big news yesterday. James, I've got Netflix.
No way.
Yeah, big thing. But yesterday, I ended up watching something we've spoken about before, the Pelé documentary.
Good Lord, it has taken you a good while.
I'm a busy man. Plus, I got COVID.
All right, sorry. Yeah. I forgot.
Anyway, it's so good.
Yeah?
It is so good.
Yeah.
And it shows you the life of a man when you are the hope of a whole country. And what's interesting about Pelé in that sort of context is how long that spanned. And sometimes you forget about Brazil's dictatorships, right? And how he had to be the hope of a nation through that. So if you haven't seen it and you've got Netflix, I highly recommend the Pelé documentary. The documentary itself is actually not that well shot. Like, I don't know who they got to produce that thing. So the content and the sort of production is actually shoddy, but the way it's kind of presented and the story it tells is so strong that it actually helps out the absolutely rubbish production, and I don't know how they scripted that.
Yeah, I don't think they had a very high production value.
Awful. It was awful on that front. So please don't watch it expecting it to be The Last Dance or one of these properly like post-produced docies. But the story's magnificent. It's worth a watch. Absolutely worth a watch. So yeah, James, your thoughts on the docu without giving away too much?
Sure. Haven't seen it in a while. Very, very good. I think I like the way it shows, you know, his start from the very beginning. From him playing as a child with like broken boots or no boots or whatever. I don't want to say too much. But yeah, I mean, I like the way it starts from him falling in love with football, and then it kind of escalates into, okay, now he's Pelé and now he's with the Brazil squad, and I like the behind the scenes stuff with I think I liked the story behind the scenes more than I liked the actual football content. The football content was cool and all. I learned a lot about, what's the Brazilian way? What do they call it?
Joga bonito.
Yeah. I had no idea that was a thing, and to see that in action, and now watching Brazilian players, I have this like different view on watching Brazilian players in modern day football because of that documentary. I thought it was good. I think the story definitely outweighs the terrible production. So yeah, it's not unwatchable, but don't watch it expecting 4K HD quality stuff.
Yeah, go for the story. Listen, we live in South Africa, and I still maintain the only celebrity South Africa has ever had is Nelson Mandela. There are no celebrities in South Africa. Um, but Pele is bigger than Nelson Mandela will ever be. And we've never had that context of him. So incredible to watch that side of it as well, is for him to go from nothing to a figure that is revered globally at the age of 17 was quite incredible to watch. And he continues to be the biggest star Brazil has to this day, which is fascinating when you think Kaká, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Cafu, Roberto Carlos. Think of these names, Adriano, and none of them have come close to transcending the sport. Like even Neymar, as much as he's getting the push, he's never transcended football. You know, Pele, he's an iconic figure regardless of football. And this documentary is a good reminder. And it swings, for me, what it certainly does is finish the argument of Maradona being better than him. When you think of 3 World Cup titles at 17, he won a World Cup. I mean, it's silly. It's really, really silly to think how great this man is. So shout out to Pele, and if you haven't seen it yet, Pele, Netflix, do your thing.
Also, there's a very interesting cameo in the movie, so just keep your eye out for it because it's there. It happens, and it catches you by. Definitely took me by surprise. But yeah, there's an interesting cameo. Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, no, very, very cool. Very, very cool. And you may or may not be talking about the same guy, but there is a legendary figure who you didn't realize. I didn't, and I thought I knew on football. But he played with Pele.
Yeah.
And then went on to just be ridiculous as a coach as well. So look out for that. Absolutely awesome. I really, really love that. And if you've got Netflix, go ahead and do your thing. Euros. Football's coming home, gents. Football is coming home.
No.
We're going to get into it now. Group D of Euro. So we did all the other groups before. We got D, E, and F. F we will do tomorrow. But Group D. Jimbo, let's get into it.
Alrighty, let's do it.
Group D is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be slightly more interesting than people think. But let's get into our Group D has England in it. What I've decided, I'm going to do strengths and weaknesses.
Cool.
So we'll start with England. England's strengths for me are the wing backs and the attack. I mean, they've got Kyle Walker, Reece James, Luke Shaw, Chilwell as backup. So right and left, supercharged, absolutely supercharged at the wing backs. And then their attack is loaded. I mean, it's Kane, Sancho, Grealish, Sterling, whoever you like there, take your pick. So really, really loaded. But I think their weaknesses are very clear for everyone to see. Goalkeeper, centre back, and central midfield. I see nothing. I don't believe in Declan Rice like people do. He's injured, by the way. Henderson's injured. So they've got unfit central midfielders. And football hasn't changed. If you can't control the middle of the pitch, you cannot win football games. And I just don't see how England are going to do that. So huge weakness in defense from goalkeeper, central midfield to centre back. So it's a massive weakness for me. I'd say their star players, Jack Grealish, he's in form. He's got the nation feeling like he's the squeaky bum time player, you're right, as the famous adage goes, of course, is when you move forward on those cheap seats, your seats squeak, as Fergie put it. So he's the guy who gets bums on seats, and he's worth the admission price alone. He's been magnificent this season, and they are loving him. Already, they are doing it again, is comparing him to Paul Gascoigne, which, okay, I'll let you decide. Next, Croatia. Their strengths, Modric and Kovacic, it's in the midfield, it's in that core. Kovacic will do all the running. Modric is the maestro. So we'll see how that pans out for them. The weakness is that they're aging. Their very own version of the golden generation is on the other side of it now. And their defense, no good. But their star man actually is Pasalic from Atalanta. Remember, they were magnificent last season, tailed off a little this season. But ultimately, he's the guy to look out for. He is the spark. So, interesting one there for Croatia. Next up, the Scots. First time they've been in anything in forever. Their strength, it's very clear. We all know. It's the left side and it's central midfield, right? Tierney and Robertson, powerful. I prefer Robertson. I think Tierney is injured far too often to be called world class. But when he's on, boy, oh boy, is he on. So their left side will be a lockdown. And their midfield has Gilmore, McGinn, and McTominay. So very, very strong there. Ultimately, their weakness, goalkeepers, centre-backs, poor. And that's a problem. You can't win without those. I don't care how good everything else is. You've got to have the spine right. So very poor at goalkeeper and centre-back. Their star player, John McGinn, for me, he's the guy. He's the guy. He's been brilliant at Villa this season. And he goes box to box, technically sublime, very responsible for the ball. And he gives you a bit of steel and drive in that midfield between him, Gilmore, and McTominay. Expect that midfield, assisted, of course, by John Fleck as well, to be solid. So, yeah, that's Scotland for me. Last but not least, the Czech Republic. Their strength, they've got the best-looking women in the world, and Thomas Suchek. Those are their two strengths. If you've never been to Prague, I can't actually explain it to you. I remember once being in a central kind of court in Prague and going for lunch, and wow, you think to yourself, am I living inside of a model shoot at the moment? So Prague, a place to go if you are male and single. I will tell you that right now for free. So yeah, their strengths, best looking women at the tournament, and Thomas Suchek for sure. Their weakness, their golden generation has just left and they have not been replaced. So it's new, it's untested. The squad is untested. They've got Sufal and Suchek. Other than that, I don't know. I've been trying to look through their squad, and I'm afraid their star is Thomas Suchek. He's been tremendous at West Ham, but that ain't going to be enough. So Group D, England, Croatia, Scotland. I think England, Croatia, purely because Scotland and, really the Czech Republic, this ain't it. This ain't it for them. They're on the other side of a golden generation. So I see England and Croatia going through quite easily there, Jupiter.
Yeah, no complaints, really. I think, I don't know, maybe Scotland could finish second. I don't know, a little bit tough. Croatia, England, and Scotland are all very strong teams. So, I mean, my vote is for England and Scotland, but it'll probably be Croatia, England.
Yeah, Luka Modric still doing his thing. Kovacic doing his thing. Pasalic, Perisic, although aging. I do like that.
All of the itches, huh?
Yeah, there are a bunch of itches.
I've got a... Nope, not going to make that joke. Anyway, yeah, I think spot on. Yeah, England, I don't see them winning it, but look, I definitely think they're going to go past the group stages. Croatia, an experienced squad, and I think they have that on their side. I think the next tournament for Croatia, they might have a little bit of an issue. Scotland, I think Scotland can be underdogs and actually shock a couple of people. So there's that possibility. I don't see the Czech Republic doing much. Sorry, but that's just I don't see them elevating to the greatest of highs. But hey, Liverpool didn't see. I mean, people didn't see Liverpool winning the Premier League, so here we are. Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on. Don't have too many disagreements. That's the only one, is the Scotland thing. I think they might shock a few people.
Scotland England is going to be one of the most fiery football matches because they haven't met in a competitive tournament in, I can imagine, forever. And listen, we in South Africa kind of have our issues on the ground, but believe you me, it's twice now the Scottish have gone to a referendum to sort of annex or whatever you want to call it and cut themselves off from the great United Kingdom, as they call themselves, Great Britain. And that tension is very real. The Scots are not fans of the English. England always feels like the big brother, always bullying everybody, is how they put it. So you can expect incredible tension from off the field, because we know how important the fans are, and that tension will translate onto the pitch. And the Scots, there's no love lost between them and England. So I'm really looking forward to that tension.
I'm looking forward to, because of this added tension now, I'm looking forward to Andy Robertson's role in that game, because we all know his temper can sometimes get the better of him.
And they're fiery. I mean, McGinn's fiery. You've got McTominay, who you can see he's got that about him, and then you've got Gilmore in there as well. John Fleck is not shy to get stuck in there as well. So could be fun.
Yeah, and they play with each other at club level, so I think that makes it a little bit more fun to watch. It's like watching the classic El Clasicos when there was still passion and pros. Like Ramos and Puyol going at each other, and then 3 weeks later they're best friends in international duty.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, we famously remember Cristiano Ronaldo getting Wayne Rooney sent off.
Yeah.
And that became a situation. And even then, I mean, the English-Portuguese tension that happens, that the continent and Britain are always at odds. But this is a whole... And you must remember, with Scotland and the England divide, if you know your history, the Church of England sort of being formed and breaking away, and you think of that, and you think of the history involved on the religious side as well. There is a religion divide. It runs very, very deep, whether Catholic, Protestant, or indeed follow the Church of England. And then, of course, if you are into it, you'll understand through the Tudor dynasty, where some of the tensions with Scotland will come from there. Bloody Mary, of course, Mary Tudor, and her treatment of the Scots, leading to saucy relations, shall we call it. So everything's so beautifully laid out. The story sells itself. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think outside of the group of death, which I think is Group F, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the group to watch. It's the most exciting outside of a group that has France and Germany in it. So, yeah, very excited actually.
So, what's your mood for Euros, James? Are you gonna get into it, go out and stuff, and watch down the pub, or are you just gonna turn it into a thing? Do you ever get together with mates for like international football tournaments?
Only one of my mates is into football. So yeah, I mean, whether he's in Joburg or not is another question. But yeah, I mean, it might turn into a thing, might not. There's a high chance I probably won't, because literally only got one friend that's, and even that friend's like kind of into football, not like, oh, I have to see the latest transfer news. Like he supports Chelsea and he's just kind of there. um, so yeah, I'll probably just end up watching most of the games at home, honestly.
Yeah, plus it's COVID now.
Exactly, COVID changed everything, and I need to stay indoors. I had a contact case at work. It was terrifying. It's been a long 2 weeks. It has.
Terrifying. Terror didn't change your whole life. Terrifying.
Look, these contact cases at that place, huh?
Yeah.
No, it's not easy.
Are you going to write a memoir, James, about having been in touch, in contact with somebody who had COVID and how it just made you think of everything differently and how selfish everyone is?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I just need to think of an eloquent intro.
Terrifying. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, eh, terrifying. So, why do you think England aren't going to win? Do you hate England? What's your story? Well, what's their weakness? Why do you think they can't deliver?
We spoke about it on the show a couple of days ago. I just don't think that this is an England squad that's um, they're young and they're talented. They've got a bit of experience sprinkled in here and there. I just don't see this squad going all the way. Um, I mean, who's their midfield going to be controlled by that isn't someone below the age of 22? Now that Henderson and um, what's his face are injured. What's his name?
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice. Yeah. I mean, I know Declan Rice is also young, but he's kind of okay at controlling midfield. But now with those two out, you've got like a 20-year-old controlling your midfield. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, it's great to have a young squad and a young generation, but you do need the experience.
Can you explain this to me? Harry Maguire's injured, right?
Yes.
Why is he in the squad? Because here's what I don't get. Now he had to go and pick Ben White, right? Where's Ward Prowse? Like now you've got Declan Rice and Henderson who are clearly unfit. So best case scenario, they're only really going to hit top form probably if you get into the last 16.
Yeah.
Because it takes you 3 or 4 high level games to really get into. And what you're hoping is that 2 injured guys in Rice and Henderson, because I think he'll play 5 at the back, 2 in the middle, and 3 attack, is that you're hoping that they're going to get fit in the tournament.
Yeah,
So
it's
it makes no sense.
it's a risky move, but I think England don't have the easiest group. We just spoke about that. The Croatian game's not going to be a walk in the park. The Scotland game, there's a high chance they're going to walk away with a couple more injuries just because of the sort of fierceness of that fixture. Um, and careless tackles happen all the time in those kinds of fixtures. So, I think they'd be lucky to make it out of the group stages without any more injuries because that Croatian game, high level. Scotland game, high level plus potential injuries. Czech Republic, maybe that's where they can afford to just send on the kids and say, okay, go have fun. But
And that's a maybe.
exactly, and that's a maybe in the sense that is that one of the earlier fixtures of the group stages, or is this a fixture that's happening after you've qualified for knockouts, or where is so I don't know. There's so many variables, and I just don't see this England squad doing much. Kane can score a goal, that's great, but let's say Kane gets injured, because everyone knows Kane loves a knee injury. Kane gets injured, then you're relying on Marcus Rashford, who can score you a goal once every 3 games instead of once again,
Yeah, and it's true. What's the backup for Harry Kane? Jadon Sancho is unproven. I've always said I've got no interest in potential. Potential gets you fired. What have you done? And also, what have you done for me lately? Again, Rashford, I think sometimes because he's clearly a magnificent human being, right? Like with all of his endeavors. Don't confuse that with Marcus Rashford being Eusebio. He is not. So Jack Grealish is the great hope, right? And that leaves you saying, okay, he's never been at a big club. He's never played with expectation on his shoulders. He's always been protected by Aston Villa for some of his stuff off the field. And everything he does is, they treat him as though he has cured cancer because he's from Birmingham, So when you talk about Jack Grealish being your great hope, you need to be worried there. You need to be really worried. He's never taken a team to a victory at the top level. So let's see how it goes. And I still don't understand Gareth Southgate. He's picked up Maguire, Henderson, and Rice. All three are injured. So now you've tied your hands by having to pick Ben White to replace an injured right back to fill in for a guy who's in the squad and injured. So why are you picking Maguire if the guy's injured? Why don't you just pick James Ward-Prowse? So Ward-Prowse can start in the middle, and quite frankly, I don't see the difference between Ward-Prowse, Henderson, and Rice. I really don't. Plus, he's a great set-piece taker. So in terms of quality, I don't know how much you're losing anyway. And he finished the season and played incredibly well this season. So you're not losing anything in terms of quality. What the bloody hell is going on with Gareth Southgate? He's got three players you cannot use for at least the first two games.
That's what I'm saying, and it also doesn't seem like it's a close-knit squad, you know what I mean? You know when you can look at a squad and you can see that that's a close-knit group of players. Like the Liverpool that won the Premier League and the Champions League, you looked at that squad, you saw that was about more than football. Those guys actually were a close-knit group of guys. This England squad just looks like they've sprinkled in like the talent and the young guns here and there. And they're like, oh, we forgot we needed someone that can play captain. Harry, come with us. Jordan, you come with us. And then also, Harry, Maguire, you can come with us too. Then you've thrown in Bukayo Saka. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm just saying, you've got the whole wing setup done. You sorted. Don't throw in like a random 18-year-old. Hey, maybe he has the tournament of his life. But I feel like he's relied way too much on names. And this is not a this is not a team that I can imagine like socializing together after games or like, having team building exercises or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Team building exercises are the biggest waste of time on this planet. Did you ever go on those things?
One or two, yes. And it is one of the most pointless things I've ever done.
Because chemistry is built by having strong culture, which you have to implement. And it's actually, in order to get a strong culture, you have to make people uncomfortable all the time at work. Because 99% of people on this planet are self-serving and selfish, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make people uncomfortable, constantly making sure that they're about the team and thinking about others, because it's nobody's natural setting to think about others, right? And think about goals that don't involve their personal goals. You don't go on a weekend to some game farm and think doing those trust exercises. You know the classic one where you have to fall backwards and somebody has to catch you.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Who are these people in HR who think spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of the company's money on these stupid team building things actually works? Who are they? And has it ever once improved morale? I'd love to know. If you work in corporate, I'm at MKT Inspires on social media. Has it ever worked where you feel like, okay, you know what? Our team's struggling. And it may not be financially, you may be hitting your targets. Sometimes it's just about a vibe. In order to win, you need a vibe. Has it ever worked in any company anyone has ever been in to go away and do trust exercises with people you quite frankly may or may not like, and you're away with them for 3 days and now you're trapped in the middle of nowhere? Has it ever worked that it's made a work environment better just
Oh,
because of one week?
oh, damn it. Marcus Rashford and Jordan Henderson are fighting. What are we going to do, Gareth? Let's just go out into the woods over there outside the hotel and fall into each other's arms.
Yeah,
That'll fix everything.
it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's incredible stuff. Team building exercise. Yeah, look, England have problems. England had serious problems, and Gareth Southgate, by the way, has problems. Imagine he doesn't make it out of this group, or he gets knocked out in the last 16.
That's what I'm saying. And this, dude, these England players are very capable of not having that chemistry, which will influence what happens on the field, and get them knocked out in a group stage. Remember, I mean, I know these players aren't playing together at this tournament, but like Raheem Sterling and Joe Gomez had like a whole thing a while back. England teammates, they had a thing on. I mean, granted, it started at the Liverpool versus City game, but then on international duty, like a week later, they were still going at it. So I don't know. This England squad with a bunch of youngsters.
You know what? Also, let me tell you something behind the curtain here, James, is having been in that environment for a good part of my youth, is that you don't need to get along with people to be successful, by the way. But that's where culture steps in. Culture makes it so that nobody cares about your feelings. And I know it's really hard for Gen Z to hear this. When you step into the work environment, and even older people, actually nobody cares about how you feel. That's what culture does. Culture says, we don't care how you feel. When you pitch up here, this is how you conduct yourself. And this is where England have struggled, because Gareth Southgate also isn't that guy. You know what I mean? Think of all the great teams that have won, especially international. You need a strong leader, a charismatic leader, whether he's strict or he's about vibes, but he must have that steel, of this is how it is here. And you can think of all the great teams that have won, whether it's Del Bosque, Big Phil Scolari, all of these guys, right? Is that it's important, if you don't have the talent, to ensure that the culture is right. And culture is a painful thing to try and implement. Right now, Gareth Southgate doesn't strike me. And I may be wrong, but let me tell you something. A lot of those footballers in the England team won't get along, right? They won't be friends. Big egos, highly paid people, highly competent people. A lot of them, there'll be lots of tension in there, trust me. But that's where the culture should take over, where the great Roy Keane, John Terry, Tony Adams, there were divides in all of those dressing rooms. But ultimately, when you have a tone setter, if it's not the manager, it's got to be the captain. And I'm sorry, I'll say it again, Harry Maguire is not a tone setter, because when he tells Jack Grealish, do this and that, and I'm afraid that ain't it, because we saw what you did in Mykonos. How dare you come and tell me what to do? And Harry Kane, for as much as I love him, he's not a captain. He's not. And the thing about Tottenham, what they're starting to learn is they've kind of employed him as we kind of used to do in high school. He's the best player, so just make him the leader. That's not how it works. Especially with alpha males, I'm not going to talk for ladies. I don't know how women think. When you have alpha males, there is a guy who they'll gravitate to without choosing him. Leaders choose themselves, right? Through sheer personality and force. There is no what you say and what the media say about you. When you get behind closed doors, there'll be alphas that come through regardless of armband or not. For me, Harry Kane's not that style, but I'm an old school person. I like Roy Keane versus Harry Kane, right? I'm very much hyper masculine. I like a man's man to lead men because I don't like it when people feel like they can all come and express themselves. I'm not for decisions by committee. I like a Roy Keane, I like a John Terry. We are here. That is where we're going. If you're not comfortable with it, get out of here. And I don't know who's going to do that for England because it just feels like, as you said, James, it feels like all vibes at the moment.
Mm. Mm. I think a prime example of that person that you're talking about in modern day football would be Cristiano Ronaldo. At the Euros that Portugal won, I think that was a squad that was not uber experienced, but they had experience here and there. But their big thing was that they believed in that culture that you speak of, and I think you could see that those players wanted to go out there and win and play for Portugal, and not just a case of, oh, Tuesday's another game. Hopefully we can get out of the group stages or whatever. And I think Cristiano Ronaldo was a massive, massive driving force behind that. You saw in the final, he was injured. He was still standing there with an ice pack on his leg, yelling out instructions like he was the manager.
Yeah.
And I think that is what drove Portugal to that Euro win. I don't think there's many players, if any, in that England squad that are team driven, culture driven, and we are the three lions driven kind of thing, that play for the badge. And this is just not another game. This is a game we have to win, and every game's a game we have to win, and Tuesday's not just another game kind of thing. So there's none of that culture within the England setup at the moment. Maybe Jordan Henderson comes across as that kind of guy. Marcus Rashford probably would, but he's not. He doesn't come across as the sort of driving force type, like the type that would stand on the sideline or would call the team together for a team talk. I just think this England team is going to struggle. Weirdly, I think luck will take them out of the group stages, and surprisingly far. But I do think it's going to be a struggle.
Listen, if you don't think culture and strength amongst, and I know we live in a different time now. Like if you're hyper masculine, you're, what are the words, toxic. But let me tell you something. I know how it works. I don't know much in life, I know how sportsmen think, especially at the top. I know them. I know how they tick. If you don't think it matters, just do yourself a favor this afternoon, this evening. Go and look at the last 20 years of football dynasty. Fergie, Man United, culture setter. It is clear. The center of power is very clear. There is an alpha dog. His name's Alex Ferguson. And nobody cares if you're David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, Jaap Stam, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Nobody cares. Fergie didn't. Man United didn't. You're lucky to be at Man United. We're not lucky to have you here. And that takes an alpha in Fergie to make it very clear. And he always said, Fergie famous for saying this in his books, the manager must be the most important person at the football club. And famously, Fergie inserted in his clause, he must be the highest paid person at the football club. Part ego, but also it's to make it clear, I'm the alpha dog here. Look at France. After 98, right, they mucked about for how many years until they landed on Didier Deschamps. It was bare since 98. It hasn't been a talent issue. It's the fact that you didn't have a guy who's going to manage the talent. And that has to be deliberate, and the figure has to be clear. Didier Deschamps, always a captain at Marseille, always a captain at Chelsea, World Cup and Euro winning captain as a player. Okay, that's how it's done, right? Marcello Lippi, Italy had gone bare for a long time. Why? Because they'd had wishy-washy coaches. Then they got a real guy. Then the World Cup happened. And that golden generation in Italy nearly messed it up because the previous one did. In fact, the previous generation was better than the generation in Italy that won the World Cup. Don't believe me? You go and look it up. That's Maldini and co. They mucked it up. Vieri and co. Like Inzaghi and co. Both Inzaghis. Right? Ambrosini, that generation, Costa, Zilch, they messed it up because they didn't have a culture-setting manager. Come to your clubs, Real Madrid, Zizou, Ancelotti. You've got to have that. It is non-negotiable. Liverpool went 30 years because they went wishy-washy after Kenny. You know what happened. You bring Jurgen Klopp in, Alpha, Sacco, I believe, was late pre-season for one meeting. Sacco was gone. Because you got to, especially for talented people, if you're in leadership, talented people need you to press them constantly. Because talented people have never had pushback in their lives, especially young men in football who are treated like gods more and more. You need a Deschamps. You need Mourinho. There's a reason Jose Mourinho will keep getting jobs. He's a culture setter. Now, young men are becoming more and more uncomfortable with it, but believe you me, Jose Mourinho will get jobs until he stops working. Because it's very, very hard to be, especially in this day and age, to be unpopular. Because in order to set culture, you have to be unpopular because you need to tell Kylian Mbappe, it's not about you. You got to tell Antoine Griezmann, it's not about you. Paul Pogba, it's not about you. And by the way, Deschamps has shown Karim Benzema, viewed by many as one of the best strikers in the world, has been alienated for 5 years. And Deschamps did not care. He didn't even think twice about it. He stopped the journalists from talking about it. Culture. You've got to have it. And again, women, I don't know how you think. Men, especially alphas, especially talented ones, need somebody to manage them because the egos are out of hand. So I don't know if England have that, and I just don't see it in the squad. And if it's not going to come from the squad, it would have had to come from Gareth Southgate. And I don't know, man. I just don't get it from Southgate.
Yeah, I think that French squad has something special. Those players play all around the world, and when they return to international duty, it's like they're all best friends. So I think those French players have got it right. The Portuguese players, I think maybe the 2018 World Cup, the German players, they had it right. And it shows culture matters. You know, stuff off of the field is not the be all and end all, but it matters. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see whether England can beat even Czech Republic or whether England can beat France. I don't know.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, it's asking a lot.
It is. But you know, anything's possible.
No.
I
hate that.
As a Liverpool fan, I've learnt anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
All right. You got as long as you believe, James. I hear that a lot.
You got to have the right culture, you know.
I do know. Culture's everything. All right, that's Group D. It's going to be awesome. Starts, is it tomorrow night? Euro starts.
It does start tomorrow. Yeah, on the 11th.
I think I'm going to do the order food and really get into it. One thing I don't watch though, not sure if you're into it, James. You're a creative. I am not. I cannot stand opening ceremonies, so I don't watch any of that. I hate that. And you do?
They're okay. They can be weird at times. Did you watch the opening ceremony for the? You probably did, for the Champions League final.
I did not.
That was kind of okay, but I think mainly because it appealed towards sort of my generation. They had Marshmello DJing, and Selena Gomez was there, and Khalid was there. So all of these like pop stars were performing, which was kind of cool. But I don't know. I think the best opening ceremony I watched was our World Cup because we had about 23 opening ceremonies in that 1 week leading up to the 11th. There was just
Yeah.
85 different concerts and ceremonies and events and things. But no, I'm not I'm not like, oh my gosh, I have to watch the Euro Championship thingy opening ceremony. Like, I can live without it, dude.
Are you into the choreography and stuff?
Not really, because it's so like sometimes it's completely bizarre, and then other times it's just kind of normal. Like the Champions League final opening ceremony was kind of normal, but then you get like people that played trumpets while doing handstands on a tricycle, and you like, what? Can we just play the football, please?
Yeah, you know what? Is that I think because American culture and like the rest of us in the world, because if you're South African, you must realize you were educated in a British system. We're not really show people. Like Americans are all about the show. You know, if you think of the Super Bowl,
Huge.
for a lot of people who hate football, in fact, hardcore football fans hate going to the Super Bowl because it's very much a corporate event. It turns into a corporate event, just as I think the Champions League and these big tournaments turn into, is that it's all like a TV show rather than being about the football. But that's a commercial thing, right? Is you want as many people, you want creatives, you want people to say, oh, that the spectacle, you know, as much as not everyone's like me, a hardcore football fan. So I don't hate it in the sense that it happened. I'm just not going to watch it because it's not for me. I understand that it's not made for me at all.
I think
You know?
the spectacle thing, when done right, works really well. Like a lot of those concerts and events leading up to the 11th of June for the 2010 World Cup, especially that concert the night before that was on. I didn't go, but it was on TV. But like watching that event where like Shakira was there, there were a couple of footballing legends, if I'm not mistaken. That was cool. That gets you kind of hyped for it.
What
But
was that for?
the 2010 World Cup.
So explain the World Cup in South Africa, right? Why is Shakira doing the song for Africa's first World Cup ever? What happened there? Like, I'd love to have been in the room, but again, this is FIFA, right? I shouldn't be looking for logic. But why is a Colombian woman doing the singing for an African World Cup? We've got, as far as I know, people in Africa who sing.
Not just a Colombian woman, but also, is he American? Where's he from? That there was also, I can't remember his name, but he did that wave your flag or waving flag song.
Oh yes, Kanan, or what was the guy's
Yeah,
name?
you Kanan or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, that's a very West African name. I also don't get that. Like, hey, the World Cup's in South Africa.
Yeah,
Plus, hey, don't worry about it. We already have 11 languages here. We'll do it.
yeah. We should get like the Parlotones and Bobby Finneasfeld, and then like Ladysmith Black Mambazo must come in also, and it must be like a whole spectacle, but like South African spectacle.
It made no sense. What was Shakira doing there? Like, who's that for? Because,
I never put thought into that until this day, actually.
because what makes no sense about it was, so then it's just what you're saying. It's not about at the African World Cup thing. It's about the marketing, because Shakira at the time was the biggest star in the world, right?
Yeah, and
And
she,
it's almost like they just thought, okay, you know what, Shakira, that's exotic. That's not European. Close enough.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey guys,
It wasn't like
maybe,
she's Spanish.
hey guys, maybe we should try, African instead of exotic.
Because,
Maybe African will work better.
by the way, I want to be very clear. Nobody hated waka waka whatever that means. Whatever, because I don't know what that means. And we speak 11 languages. If somebody knows what that means, nobody hated that more than me. Because do you know what that comes off as? You know how old school American films would depict Africa? Like everything was in Fanagalo or Khoisan. So it
Yes.
almost like they went, put some clicks in there, Shakira. Just put some stuff. You know what? The Americans will get it. You know, like waka waka is just sounds with your mouth. Oh my God, that's African. It must mean something.
You know when you type in waka waka into Google Translate, but you choose like detect the language to see what language it is,
Yes.
it just picks it up as waka waka in English. That's all. That's all it is.
So it made no sense to me. I just, but that's the type of stuff you've got to expect when you've got FIFA in the mix. So waka waka, and that sounds African. We've nailed it.
Yeah,
And, yeah, like, imagine all the marketing people sitting around at the FIFA offices when they thought waka waka when they heard that for the first time, they cried around the table like, guys, we nailed it.
This
That
is
is Africa.
this has really awoken the spirits in the African
Wow.
culture.
And then doesn't she actually say in the song, "It's time for Africa"?
Yes, she does. She does say that. She
Waka waka it's time for Africa. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, she goes, "It's time for Africa." Even though I'm from Colombia, it's time for Africa.
And then it goes, "Hamanana, well, what is that? That was so disgusting.
No, there has to. No, I'm gonna Google it. There has to be a translation for it.
That's not how we speak in Africa. Like, I represent two tribes in this country. I've never heard waka waka and I've never heard hamanana I've never, not once. Plus, in fact, sorry, I represent three tribes. My grandmother was Venda. I've never heard any of those three tribes say those words in that order to represent anything.
Okay, I've got the translation.
Cool, let's hear it.
Dude, it's Spanish. She's singing in Spanish.
Okay, let's hear it.
So it's the moment has arrived. The walls fall. It's going to start the one fair game. The kick doesn't hurt. Fear doesn't exist. Dust yourself off. Stand up and get back in the ring. And the pressure is felt. Your people wait for you. Now let's go for all. And luck is with you. Come, come. Who asked you to come? 'Cause this is Africa. No, that can't be real. Come, come. Who asked you to come? 'Cause this is Africa. That can't be real.
You know what? It's less ridiculous than the actual lyrics. That actually makes me feel better. Then, because the song itself is one of the most deplorable things. Like you said, why are ladies with black mambazo? You know, the largest contingent in South Africa is the Zulu nation, right? Get a Zulu. We've got Lady Smith Black Mambazo, who you don't actually need to introduce to the world.
No,
you know?
no. Grammy award winning.
Multiple.
Yeah,
Grammy
world famous Lady Smith Black Mambazo.
You've got the Soweto Gospel Choir.
Dude,
who won awards globally. People know them. They're constantly trending, right, on social media. So we already have the people, because I know how marketing people are. Is they hate educating a market, right? They hate that. It's their nightmare. They just want to, which is why you very rarely see Nike, Adidas, UBS, HSBC. You very rarely see a random come and be the face of it, because they don't want to educate a market. Tom Brady, you come and be the guy. You know what I mean? Marcus Rashford, you're the new Nike face. So for them, we already had those people. Why did you go with Shakira? And it's been on my mind for years.
I love how we getting triggered about this. How many years?
We're going to change it.
11 years later.
So, who's supposed to be hosting these Euros now?
It's across Europe, so there's a couple of games in England.
So any chance you think they get Lady Smith Black Mambazo to go and sing for Euros?
Don't be silly. They're probably.
That's what I'm saying. It makes even less sense.
They're probably going to get like Elton John for the opening ceremony, bro.
Probably will. All right. That's awesome. Waka waka.
Actually, it's come here, who asked you to come here?
Oh, yes. Quite right. Quite right. All right, Jimbo. On that note, it's time for Africa. Let's take a 20 little break, and we'll be
Right.
back in a little bit, and we'll get into Group E and a little bit of social media with James as well.
Sounds good.
By the way, if you want to get the podcast, it is available on cliffcentral.com, the Cliff Central app, or wherever you may get your podcasts on this fine, what is it, Thursday, the 10th of June, 2021. We'll be back in a little bit. This is the MKT Show. See you in a bit. Welcome back to it, sports fans. It is the MKT show. And in the spirit of Shakira, waka waka, eh, eh, I think it's only right.
Come here, don't. Who asked you to come here?
Do you think Shakira was expecting Africans to sound like that? Like she was gonna land, say waka waka eh, and we were gonna go, oh my gosh, who is this blonde princess who has come to say that? In her mind, how do you think that went for her?
You know what it probably went like? What's that movie where the two tribesmen are walking through the middle of nowhere and the Coke bottle falls out of the sky?
I don't know what you're talking
I can't remember the name of the movie. Anyway, I think she thought we were going to treat her like a goddess and this person that can miraculously speak in African language when she's actually speaking Spanish.
Yeah, man, love it. Absolutely loved it. All right. This show is available on podcast, by the way, James. It's called the MKT Show.
Oh, okay. That's
And
good.
also, James, I mean, your microphone on that sweater sounds like, honestly, I would rather listen to Shakira waka waka than the amount of scratching that's going on there.
It's not my fault. I don't have a clip.
Yeah. Well, you just hold it.
I'll sit still like a good boy.
You just hold it. I mean, it's not my problem that you didn't fix it.
They do this in grade 1.
Oh, I don't know. It's not my problem. Listen, this show, by the way, James, is available as a podcast because you know what happens with people as they move up the economic scale is they fall in love with control, James. You know that, huh? Because I'm pretty sure now you got a full-time job, you're getting a little bit more money. Your girlfriend's probably noticed it and she hates it and she goes, he's becoming a bit of a control freak because the more money people have, the more of a control freak they want to be, right? And because all money is portable power. It's power you can put in your pocket. And the more of it you have, the more control you want. So there's someone out there. We always, James, you're a little bit sexist. You know, some of your comments have been just incredible.
What?
And toxic.
Over the years.
So let's make it about a fictional man. You know, somebody's moved from, I don't know, Durban to the big city of Johannesburg or the United Kingdom, and they're wondering to themselves, you know, how can I ever achieve my dreams? And they work 12, 15-hour days, and they go, I want to listen to the MKT show, but I can't do it at work. I've got to be productive. Not to worry, ambitious Stephen. Don't you worry your pretty little face that has just completed a CA degree. You can listen to the MKT show anytime you like, wherever you like, while you're crushing it on the treadmill. Are you thinking about how you can make the next corporate move? How you can go and stand on somebody's head so your dreams can be realized and you can impress your boss by making someone else look bad, as most corporate stooges want to do. You know what I'm saying, James?
Sure, absolutely. I'm still stuck on the sexist thing, but sure, yeah, definitely.
Oh, well, don't you remember that time? I mean, listen, do you want to walk down memory lane?
Sure.
Do you remember the time you compared women to possessions? And that was on the show, by the way, so you can't deny that. We can actually dig that up. So that was just the one time that you displayed. But I mean, it's just been so many that if I'm to name every single example, it'll take the whole show.
Okay. I don't remember being a sexist.
Most sexists, I'm yet to hear a sexist who goes, you know what? 3 years ago, I was this and this. Like, what you're doing now is you're being sexist by saying, I don't remember, so I'm not sexist. Wow, James. Toxic masculinity, unbelievable. I actually just want to move on from this dark phase of the show.
Me too, kind of.
Let's do it, James. All right, it's Euro Fever, right? It is Euro Fever. And do you know what? I'd like Waka Waka to be the theme song for Euros. It makes more sense that a Spanish-speaking blonde lady is the lead singer. You know what I mean?
Well, more so that the song is Spanish. So it would make more sense that a Spanish song should be sung and played throughout Europe.
I'll tell you what the Europeans will tell you is the Africans should learn how to speak Spanish. That is no lie. All right, let's move on. James, good to have you here, pal.
Good to be here on
That's
this
good.
fine Thursday morning before load shedding.
Yeah. Listen, if you missed the show earlier, James was saying how terrifying it was to have had contact with somebody who had COVID. And by the way, James does not have COVID. He's fine. I don't know what was terrifying about it. James, I'm just updating people. You know what I'm saying?
Horrifying stuff. I'm writing a memoir, if anybody wants to read that.
Yeah.
That'll be out soon.
Do you know what your memoir would be called?
Living with a Monster.
No. James Ilsley. Nothing happened. Because nothing has happened, right, to you. Yeah. Anyway, if you're still with us on YouTube at this stage, please click like. That is the up thumb. It's that thumb. The thumb pointing to the sky, not pointing to James' failed dreams beneath the ground. You know what I'm saying, James?
Absolutely. I've come to terms with it. That doesn't hurt me anymore.
Chin up, big fella. All right, let's move on. Group E. Group E at the Euros. Who will be involved there? Let's start off with Spain. The strength there for me, it's in the wings. Ferran Torres and Adama Traore. The weaknesses are glaring for the very first time in Spain. I think they took their eye off the ball, and ultimately, Spain needs two things to happen to be successful. Real Madrid need to be strong, or Barcelona need to be strong. At the moment, neither is true, and a huge chasm has appeared. It shows you the Spanish side actually doesn't have a culture. It's, are Barcelona good? Are Real Madrid good? At the moment, neither is good. Spanish football has no culture, and there has been a massive exposure of the chasm in culture and ability at the Spanish Federation. But their weaknesses are goalkeeper, centre-back, striker, and the coach is awful. He is awful. What is Pedri doing there ahead of Isco? You know what he's done? It's Catalan bias. Now, he might have a thing against Real Madrid. If you don't know the story, Luis Enrique, of course, has done the devil's move, moving from Real Madrid to Barcelona, followed by Luis Figo. I think Figo's one always gets more press. But if you don't know, Luis Enrique is not welcome at the Estadio Bernabeu. He is absolutely loathed by Madridistas. So, and we've seen it here, he's clearly icing, he's clearly frozen out anyone from Madrid who thinks they're going to get in the squad at Real Madrid. That is. So, for me, in Spain, strengths, Ferran Torres, Adama Traore. The weaknesses, goalkeeper, centre-back, and striker, and the coach. Who would have thought that coming into the tournament? The star for me is going to be Ferran Torres. He will be the kingpin. Purely because the rest of the squad's so bad. But also, he's a half-decent player. Superb pace, superb power. This may be his breakout tournament. I think Man City, it was tough to break into that side. Mahrez was incredible. Bernardo Silva was incredible. Foden was just unstoppable towards the end of the season. Torres, first season in England, rough, but his raw ability. Let's see what he can do with Adama Traore. And what's nice about Adama Traore for Torres is now you can't double Torres. So you can't put your holding mid on either Adama Traore or Ferran Torres because both have Ferrari-like speed. So you've got to be on your best behavior and you've got to leave your wing backs one-on-one. Good luck to those. So I expect Ferran Torres to have a breakout tournament, and I think that's going to be good for him. And scarily, that is good news for Man City as well. Next team, Sweden. Their strengths are very similar to the Czech Republic, the best-looking women in the world. So that is a huge strength for them. But a strength for them, no stars, team ethic. A weakness for them, no stars, team ethic. What it does is it puts limitations on them. But their star is actually, I said they don't have a star. He's an emerging star. Ginger Ninja, by the way, at Juventus. If you haven't seen it, Kulusevski is sensational. He's a wunderkind, ready to break out. He's the Juventus star, man. Dejan, not the most Swedish names, but we know that Sweden is very quickly becoming a melting pot for Europe. So good for him. Another one. So they've just moved from one sort of Slavic hero in Zlatan, and they've got themselves a ginger ninja in Dejan Kulusevski, superb player. And if you're a Juventus fan, you know exactly who he is. Look out for him, and you can't miss him. He's got the flaming red hair. So superb player in midfield there. And ultimately, Sweden's stars non-existent. So a good team effort. And often I've heard from the Swedes, we play better without Zlatan because we play like a team, and it's a very Swedish way to think about things. Next up, Poland, great strength for me, the goalkeeping department. Fabianski, and they've got Chesney. So that's an awesome, awesome problem to have. The weakness, poor midfield, and it's sad because Poland really should have done well at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Think what you will there. I mean, we know the history between the two. Rough 2018 for them. But the star is Lewandowski. For me, quite easily the best striker on planet Earth. So we'll see how that goes for them. Slovakia, again, their strength is at the back. They've got Dubravka, who's, if you're a Newcastle fan, of course, brilliant there. But their real guy is the Inter Milan centre-back Skriniar. So they've got good strength at the back. Their weakness is Slovakia, and Marek Hamsik was the great hope. But it's the end of an era, and it's the last one song for the old generation. But I'm afraid for the Slovaks, it ain't going to happen. Skriniar, as I said, the star player there. Group E, Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. I think it's quite easy. Sweden, for me, and Poland. I don't think Spain are going through. A lot of people think this is going to be easy for Spain. Something's wrong there. And James put it well earlier, is that to win, you need a vibe. And that vibe sometimes can be we're scared of the authority, or the chemistry has just been next level. I think if you look at Portugal's last Euros win, the chemistry was at another level because they weren't the best team. They had Cristiano Ronaldo and Cedric was the right back. I think it was Jose Font as the centre back partnering Pepe. Who? Rui Patricio. These are by no means world-class names, but the chemistry and vibes was next level. The other option is you have Didier Deschamps, no vibes, right? And it's all about culture. I'm not sure what Spain have right now. It's a mess. There is a clear Catalan and Spanish divide, and that is just going to be a mess. Luis Enrique, I don't know what is going on there. It makes no sense that Sergio Ramos isn't there. But all right, they've chosen to go where they go. And I think it's such a mess that I think Sweden and Poland are coming out of this group. I really do. Eric Garcia, Laporte at centre back. Never played together, never played a match for Spain. Ugh. Jordi Alba's done, I'm afraid. I like Azpilicueta. He's good leadership. But there's only so much he can do. There's no talent in that Spanish team. Ferran Torres. And, I mean, it lets you know everything you need to know. Adama Traore and Ferran Torres are your best players. Alvaro Morata is the lead striker. I mean, you know. So for me, Sweden and Poland are going through from this group. Jimbo, your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I'm very confused because while you were popping off and I was trying to find a squad selection for the Spanish squad, I read an article saying that Spain have set up a parallel bubble of 17 players because now 2 players have tested positive in the Spanish camp. Fernando Llorente is the second player. after
And he's important actually. So
a
they
little
need
bit,
him.
yeah. But then I read this team that's been selected for this parallel bubble, and again, I'm confused because Spanish players are available, but this team, okay, and you tell me how many of these players you know. Kepa Arrizabalaga, absolutely. Raul Albiol, Rodrigo Moreno, Carlos Sola, Brais Mendes, Pablo Fornals, and then the rest, no jokes, haven't even heard of him. That's 4, 8, 12 players I haven't heard of.
Yeah, they're in a bad way, dude.
Why
Why is Raul Albiol there
well, this
and
is
Sergio Ramos isn't?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. This parallel bubble that they're setting up, also full of players that nobody understands why they were selected. So I don't know what's going on with the Spain camp at the moment. But they are my team, and I have a feeling I'm going to be in a lot of pain in the next sort of week or so. Poland, very strong side. Sweden can surprise you, also a very strong side. So I don't know. I want to say Spain, Poland.
Spain, Poland.
I'm going to stick with my guns. Spain, Poland. Whether I believe Spain, maybe they won't win the group. They'll maybe come second.
Here's what I don't get. Are you telling me not a single Spanish player is from Madrid? It's from Real Madrid, eh?
Dude, the rest of the squad is a bunch of. They look like 12-year-olds. I'm not joking. They look like they were called up from some academy in like Villarreal or something.
Like, there's no way Luis Enrique can sleep at night and actually phone his mother and tell her that he's being an ethical dude after selecting Pedri over Asensio and Isco.
Dude, I don't understand. And even now, okay, so now your resources are more stretched because your squad potentially has COVID, right? Then you go and call up a bunch of 12-year-olds. What do you... Just to prove a point that you hate Madrid. Like, what are we doing here, dude?
Will you name the other players that he called up?
I will. Righty. So I'm about to read 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 players. You let me know how many of these players you've heard of. Alrighty. Oscar Mingueza.
Okay, decent player, yeah.
Alejandro Pozo.
Anyone?
Gonzalo Villar. Oh, the surname rings a bell there.
Okay.
Martin Zubamendi.
Okay.
Mark Cucurella.
Yeah.
Brian Gill. Sounds very Spanish. Jeremy Pino. Javi Puado. And Alvaro Fernandez. Dude.
That's unreal. That is unreal. So you're telling me those guys are more worthy than Isco, Asensio, and Sergio Ramos?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who Sergio Ramos has declared, by the way, he is fit.
Yep.
That is unreal. That is unreal. But look, there's clearly something happening there. Go and read the story about Luis Enrique and his relations with Real Madrid. This just stinks of ego.
Again, you're risking bringing home glory for your country to prove a point about a club level rivalry.
It makes no sense. What makes even less sense is that Pedri, who can't even get into the Barcelona squad consistently, is ahead of Asensio. What? Like, what is Pedri giving you that Isco and Asensio wouldn't give you just by being in the squad. If Pedri is your hope for Spain, it's just give it up now. You're not making it out the group.
What about Iago Aspas? Did he make it? No.
Of course not.
Dude.
Doesn't make sense. Anyway, so I've said it though. Goalkeeper, centre back, and striker, and the coach for Spain concern me hugely.
Issues. They've got an okay midfield. Probably more than okay.
Well, they've all got COVID now, and Busquets got COVID. Sergio Busquets has been one of the worst players in La Liga this season. What is he doing there?
He is the captain. Whether he deserves to be there
He is Catalan.
Well, I mean, dude, I don't know.
It's so crazy.
It's annoying because Spain won a World Cup, and then I think they won the Euros after that. And then they just, after that, fell off completely, lost like 5-1 to the Netherlands. It just became a terrible time. And now again, like you think there's...
To be clear, that was a decade ago.
Yeah, but like, how long is it going to take you to rebuild, guys?
Oh, that's what happened. You move off Del Bosque and listen, the Spanish Federation has been exposed, right? Is that essentially the great Spanish dynasty? Because people think Spain has like 5 World Cups, I think, eh?
Yeah.
They have 1.
Mm-hmm.
They have 1. That was the Waka Waka I think a lot of people don't realize is that when Barcelona were great, Spain were great. And it was an extremely short period of time. So since then, the Spanish Federation, everything we were talking about earlier about culture, Spain have been exposed to say that there is no Spanish culture. If anything, the Catalan Madrid divide has been exposed even more now because it was plastered over when you had Sergio Ramos and Carles Puyol and these great leaders who would put it all aside, right? Piqué and Ramos famously hate each other. I mean, they were a legendary combo for 6 years, right? Is they just got on with it. Valdez, Casillas, these are men who held it together through sheer culture and force of will. You know, even 2010, to have Casillas as the captain with all those other Catalan greats was a situation. But, you know, no ego. Plus, back then, you've got a guy called Vicente Del Bosque. He's not putting up with nonsense. There's no Gerard Piqué bringing his Catalan agenda here. That great Del Bosque does not care about that. He was ruthless. He was absolutely ruthless and squashed all of that out, and look what they did. But since then, look how many managers Spain have had. Lopetegui, and it's been this and that. I mean, there was a time Lopetegui was what, like 6 months? And then he went to Real Madrid, and then he went back, and then now, I don't know if you remember what happened. Was that, I can't remember if that was with Enrique, but the guy took a break from being the Spanish manager. They had another manager, and then when Luis Enrique wanted to come back, the old guy who used to be the assistant didn't want to leave the position. Spain had to fire him. Don't know if you know this. That's in this era.
I know they had a whole falling out thing with the managers at one point. I didn't know the actual story.
Yeah, so because tragically Luis Enrique, of course, lost his daughter. So he took a break, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you now.
And
yeah.
So the assistant took over, right? And then now when Luis Enrique, and from what we understand, what's being reported, is that was well agreed. But then now Luis Enrique said, oh, okay, well, I'm ready to come back now, as we agreed. The old guy said, no, thank you. I've got us to Euros. We've qualified. I'd like to stay. So what had to happen in the end, if you haven't followed it, Spain had to fire the other guy. It's been a mess. The whole thing is a mess. And listen, the more talented you are, if you are more chaotic, there's no way you can win in team sport. Individual sport, listen, we understand what's happening with Tiger and he kept winning. It's easier as an individual to win because that chaos, you can control it. So it's only your ego you're dealing with, right? It'll eventually catch up with you, but you can kind of just deal with it. In team sports, when there's resentment and no clear direction, no clear leadership, especially when there's alphas, then you get faction, and that's what the previous England regime had. Was they had a beta male in Sven Goran Eriksson as the leader, and the factions formed. We've read about it now. If you've read Stevie G's books, Ferdinand, you've heard all of the greats from that era speak about it. There were factions. The United lads didn't like the Man United guys. The United guys didn't like the London guys. Especially when Chelsea came along and started to dominate, that was another faction that formed. If you've got Sven Goran Eriksson, there is going to be resentment in the team. And now, Spain, but what they've been exposed on is that Real Madrid and Barcelona were the cultures. Spain, as a federation, is about as useful as Safa, which is run like a spaza shop. So
Yeah, because around that time, I know there was a lot of sort of tension between the Catalans and the Spanish. I think it was the royal family who are heavily involved in the Spanish national side, and I think that's where that whole sort of I don't want to say dynasty, the era of football with Piqué and Puyol and Ramos and Busquets and Iniesta and Xavi, that's where that whole divide happened, was when they had that major tension in Spain.
The tension, James. The tension actually came, is that Catalonia has been seeking independence from the Spanish crown.
Yeah.
And what you must also remember is that the Spanish crown owns Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Right? They are literally, Real Madrid is Royal Madrid, just so people understand that. So the tension lies deep within the fact that the crown supports Madrid.
Yeah.
That is where the tension is. And then, obviously, with the last era, it was Catalan-led in terms of players. And that caused all sorts of problems. But when you've got alphas, when you've got real men, Carles Puyol, Saint Ica, Sergio Ramos, Xavi, these guys there's no time. Leave that rubbish at home. Is here, we want to win football matches. And ultimately, when you've got great leadership, it transcends personal issues, which is what most of life should be anyway. But with men, it always becomes about egos. And most failures are ego-driven, right? It's got nothing to do with talent. And I think Spain are about to see the size of Luis Enrique's ego is about to burn down the whole kingdom. So good luck to them.
Yes, that Spanish squad was something, eh? That 2010 Spanish squad was
outrageous.
Dude, Fernando Torres, David Villa.
Well, forget about up front,
bro.
Right? Santiago Canizares is one of the greatest goalkeepers Europe has produced in the modern era. He was the third option. Vitor Valdez, who the great Gianluigi Zambrotta said. So Zambrotta came from the famous Milan team with Ancelotti, Shevchenko, and that lot. Zambrotta arrived at Barcelona, and they asked him, what was the greatest difference between playing for AC Milan and playing for Barcelona? He said, it's the first time as a player, right, where the goalkeeper had better feet than me. That goalkeeper was Vitor Valdez. Vitor Valdez was the second or third option. David Gea took forever to get in the team. They had a guy as the goalkeeper who was the captain in a team that had Xavi, Puyol, Iniesta, Ramos, Jordi Alba. The goalkeeper was the captain. He was so good, he was a saint, they called him. Saint Ica as the man. I mean, that team was just out of hand.
I just realized something. That's why Spain won it.
Because they had a saint as the keeper.
No, because of Waka Waka. It's Spanish.
That's true, dude. Plus, Puyol, I think they met there.
You mean Piqué?
Piqué, sorry.
Yeah, he probably had a good couple of nights during this World Cup.
Yeah, he waka all his way, the whole
Oof.
team to a World Cup victory.
His waka waka was all over the place, huh?
It was air. I would say his waka was air. I would say.
That's why the song says, come here, who asked you to come here?
Oh my goodness, it's all revealing itself. Shakira was actually here to find her husband. It wasn't about the World Cup.
And the who asked you to come here is from the security at her hotel door, but she's saying, come here to her. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It makes sense now. That's why they won a World Cup, because PK wasn't stressed all the time. He was relieving a lot of tension.
Yeah.
You know, and that juju was being given off to the rest of the Spain squad.
So actually, the African World Cup, we thought the theme song was about the South African World Cup.
Yeah.
It was about the Spanish national team and a Colombian lady's desire to wed.
Exactly. And word on the street is, if you play This Time for Africa backwards, at half the speed, I heard that it actually translates to Spain are the champions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is huge. This is breaking news. I don't think anybody has actually done this sort of research into Shakira's sort of unlocking Spain. Who knew?
Hey man, it's a gift. It's a gift, honestly.
Also, a little bit sexist is how come Spain just credit Iker Casillas and Sergio Ramos and ultimately Vicente Del Bosque? What about Shakira?
Wait, but wasn't the 2010 World Cup the same tournament that Iker kissed the reporter who turned out to be his, or who later became his girlfriend or whatever?
No. She was already his partner. So he
Oh.
No. That wasn't anything. Yeah, she was already his partner at the time.
I was thinking that was going to be more like good juju for the squad.
Yeah, no. That wasn't creepy vibes. That was already his partner after they won. Yeah. So that's got nothing to do with it. That's a bit of a reach, James. That's not good journalism.
Yeah, no, not at all. Good journalism, though.
You've uncovered Shakira. Shout out to her.
Exactly.
Dude.
Also, I found out yesterday that Zinchenko also did the exact same thing as Iker Casillas.
Yeah, but he took it to another level.
And made her pregnant.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, yes, I think she's pregnant, right? But he proposed like before a game.
Yeah.
Or like after a game. That's like next level.
In his, was it Ukraine? Yeah, in his Ukraine top, yeah.
Oh, but he turned it into a whole thing, like a movie.
Yeah, it was exceptional. But it also started the same way that Iker's one started, where he kissed the reporter.
Yes, but the Iker one they were already in a relationship. You're making it sound like Iker Casillas hit on her on TV, like a creep.
Oh, I thought that's what it was.
No, they were already partners.
Oh, that's orcs, huh?
What do you think? Iker Casillas is going to do that on camera?
Maybe he found her gorgeous and just wanted to express that.
That's,
I don't
again,
know.
Your toxic masculinity. That's not how it works. You don't just grab women anymore. Yeah, actually. So James, let me explain something to you. These women, sort of the part of our species that we call female or women, right, are people. You don't just grab them. Like, we don't live in caves anymore. You live in four ways. It's kind of like living in a cave, I guess. So your mentality needs to
I have nothing to add.
toxic masculinity. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable stuff. But yeah, shout out. Hey, before we move off the subject, listen. If there's one bunch of guys as well who knew how to choose their partners, it is that Spanish team, because PK went and obviously married Waka Waka Shakira. But if there is a guy who has won the World Cup of life, it is a guy called Sergio Ramos. His wife, lady by the name of Pilar Rubio.
Ooh,
My.
she's gorgeous.
And Sergio Ramos, I mean, he's a man's man as well. Their kids are going to be androids to people that beautiful and successful. It's almost unfair.
Oh,
really.
wow.
Pilar Rubio. If you are a man or a woman who's into women, you are welcome. Pilar Rubio, do yourself a favor.
She's decent looking.
She's out of this world. She's out of this world. All right, Jimbo. Now that we've moved off your toxic masculinity, Let's move into a segment which hopefully shows a nicer side of who you are. It's called Social Media with James.
James. You didn't do the thing. Nope, nope. Moment's over. You ruined it. You ruined everything.
Oh, it's feeling a bit sensitive today.
Right, so we're going to jump back into that list that we were on yesterday. Because if I remember correctly, I think the Dutch squad was coming up, and that's a relatively long list.
All right, you've got to explain to people that are joining us today what you're doing.
I was about to. I was just scrolling down to where we needed to be. Okay, boys. So yesterday on the show, what I did was UEFA had released a list of how to say players' names properly. And we went through the list yesterday. We went through Germany, France. I don't think we've done Spain yet. But yeah, just a couple of the complicated names that you wouldn't know how to say. I'm here for your assistance. So, Italy. Federico Bernardeschi is Federico Bernardeschi.
Bernardeschi.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Giorgio Chiellini is Giorgio Chiellini.
Chiellini.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
Giorgio, not Giorgio. Giorgio.
It's not Giorgio.
Yeah, it's Giorgio
Giorgio.
Chiellini.
Okay, so the C and the H is a K sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Lorenzo Insigne is Lorenzo Insigne.
Okay.
Right.
And that is a tricky one.
A little bit. Now, you thought that was tricky. Let's take a trip to the Netherlands, where these names are insane.
Yes.
Correct. Nice. Steven Bergwijn is not Steven Bergwijn. It's not even close. It's Steven Bergwijn.
The Dutch are ridiculous. You know that. Bergwijn. Okay.
Steven Bergwijn.
Yeah.
Jeez. Matthias de Ligt is Matthijs del Ligt.
Matthijs de Ligt.
Yeah. Stefan de Vrij is Stefan de Vrij.
Oh my gosh.
Quincy, I don't even know how to say his name with my accent. Quincy Promes is Quincy Promes. Donny van der Beek. Boy, were you wrong. It's Donny van der Beek.
Van der Bak.
Van der Beek, sorry. Van der Beek.
Van der Beek.
Georgino Wijnaldum is Georgino Wijnaldum. North Macedonia, not super interested unless you are.
Although I just wanted to say about them is not a good marketing pitch for them is the other sort of country we know about that has North has a terrible reputation. So South Macedonia already ahead in the PR game there.
Why is
There
that?
is a well, North Korea, South Korea, you know? Yeah, you want to be South Korea.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Poland. I'm gonna do the players that I know. Lewandowski is obvious. Here's one. Szczesny, right?
Okay.
His name is Wojciech Szczęsny.
Yeah, listen, the Baltic names, they need to give us a break.
Wojciech Szczęsny. Wow. Portugal.
Hey, nobody gets more emotional, especially, you know, South African Portuguese people are the most Portuguese people on earth in their minds.
Yeah.
It's so emotional. It's not Ricardo, it's Ricardo. Nobody gets more emotional than South African people. It's hilarious.
Well, Paula's not here. Never fear.
Mm.
Anthony Lopez is Anthony Lopes.
Lopes. Okay.
Bruno Fernandes is Bruno Fernandes.
Okay.
Diogo Jota is Diog Jota. I'm sure you need the accent to say that, probably.
Yeah.
João Felix is apparently João Felix.
Okay. João.
Yeah. João Moutinho is also João Moutinho. So it's not Moutinho, it's Moutinho.
Moutinho.
Yeah. Ruben Neves is Ruben Neves.
Okay.
Pepe or Pep is exactly that. It's just Pep.
Okay.
Scotland, pretty easy to pronounce. Russia, there's two names here. I don't know if you want to do them.
Let's finish off with Russia and then we can go to comments.
Wait, I want to see if there's a better known team and then we can do that one. Nope, there isn't.
Although the Russia one will be fun.
Okay, we can do Russia. There's two names. Igor Diviv is Igor Divayev. You just add an extra syllable.
Well, there's accents and
Yeah.
deeltekens and all sorts going on there.
Artem Dziyuba is, and just bear in mind, okay, it's spelt Dzyyuba, right? Dziyuba. It's actually Artem Juba, spelt Jooba. Artem Juba.
Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you something. Lived in Russia for 6 months. You need at least 2 years to learn the idiosyncrasies of what the letters mean. It's just like, you ever seen the Transformers film, James?
All of them, yes.
Okay. So you know when they like have their own language?
Yeah.
It's like that. That's what it's like being in Russia. It's alien language and it's mental and they get so emotional about it.
Alrighty, I see we don't have an awful lot of time, so let's jump into YouTube. Zapeta today says picking injured players never works. We remember Ronaldo R9 in the 98 World Cup final. England has a history of this, Beckham and Rooney being examples. It never works. They just take up space.
Well said.
Zapeta also says England players take their club rivalries into the international stage. Look at France. An average player at club level becomes a superstar in the French team, like they've been playing together all year.
Listen, if you don't understand the culture thing, Arsenal fans should have seen the clearest example. Thomas Partey came from Atletico Madrid, and everybody thought he was Patrick Vieira there. That's because the culture, because he came to Arsenal, and coming fourth is a trophy, and being top 6 for the last 5 years hasn't been a disaster. Arsenal's just been okay with mediocrity, and the culture is mediocre. And Thomas Partey became an Arsenal player. So culture matters, and Zapeta, great point there. What you'd need is, and the other thing was the one guy who tried to fix the culture, the players spat him out. Fabio Capello tried to fix the England problem, because the problem in England is that the players think they're bigger than the flag. And Capello came and he tried to implement a hierarchy, right? Listen, to make it clear to everyone in life, you need a hierarchy. You can't have people thinking that they're the center of attention. Whether it's in business, it's in life, you need a hierarchy. And especially the more competent people are, the more you need the hierarchy to put people in their place so they don't think they can express themselves beyond sort of their station. So Zapeta couldn't agree more.
Kuthle says Maguire might be in because he's from a big club and is the captain.
I don't know why Maguire's in that squad, and I agree. Yeah, it could be a good point.
Shumi says the movie is The Gods Must Be Crazy. Yes, So these two
Okay.
tribesmen are like super perplexed by this Coke bottle. And
Okay.
that's what I think Shakira tried to do with her song.
Oh, so she fell in here and like, oh my God. Oh, so she was the Coke bottle.
Yes, yes,
Ah,
we were the tribesmen and she was the Coke bottle. Yes.
she's waka waka eh.
Come here, come here. Who asked you to come here? Aaron says, James, I love what you're doing with your hair these days. Well,
Oh, okay. There was a bit of contention before the show. I said the hair looked terrible, but James, there you go.
sorry. Um,
Your hair's on fleek.
well, look, I try, huh? You know?
Okay.
It's
So,
getting.
what's going on with the conditioning there, James?
Oh, it's on fleek. Which means I got the conditioning right. So,
Yeah, shout out, dude.
nailed
Getting the
it.
cover, you're gonna get the cover model thing going. I mean, since you're walking up and down the stairs, did you do your stair thing yesterday?
You broke up a little bit. What did you say?
Did you do your stair walking yesterday?
I did. I did do
All right.
it. I
So you're
did.
gonna get cut. Plus the hair's conditioned. Plus you shave the beard now.
Yeah.
See if you can get yourself on the cover of GQ, dude.
I'm just. No, not like that. Was that cringy? Yeah, that was. Let's move on.
All right.
Choma says, any thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers situation? Will he go? Will he stay? Or will he even play? I'm not
Listen,
sure what that means.
Aaron Rodgers, and I don't understand this, but we're moving into this era in life where, again, anybody who suggests that you need to control talent is toxic. And we're moving into a time where people can make millions of dollars for just posting a post on Instagram. But there's a reason why Merrill Lynch, Fannie Mae, UBS, HSBC continue to dominate the world, right? Is I know it feels good for people now on social media to go, let's take the man down. The institution will always be bigger than individuals. But we live in a time where we obsess with talent now. The Green Bay Packers should not be held hostage by Aaron Rodgers. I don't care how good people think he is. The Green Bay Packers are one of three institutions in the NFL that are blue blood. Move on from Aaron Rodgers. Quite frankly, what has he done for you? One Super Bowl, right? Folks, the trophy when you win is called the Lombardi Trophy. If you don't know who that is, he was a Green Bay Packers coach. It's named after him, right? Nobody cares who Aaron Rodgers is. But what's happening now is that because Aaron Rodgers is such a big megastar, what tends to happen is that people feel the social media pressure and the star pressure, because star pressure is a real thing now. You see, Man United are having problems with Pogba because he's such a big star. Is that we are so obsessed with the star now, but the real institutions, right? Berkshire Hathaway understand that no individual, right, is irreplaceable. Move on from Aaron Rodgers. His Super Bowl was 11 years ago now. Stop comparing him to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is unique. And even Tom Brady, the great Bill Belichick, moved on. Trust me, Bill Belichick will be back in a Super Bowl within the next 5 years. You move on from the individual. No individual, right, should ever overpower a great institution. Warren Buffett moves on from people. Bill Gates moves on from people. Netflix will move on from people. Elon Musk, famous, he overpays employees, but moves on. People with self-worth, institutions with self-worth. It's why no Gen Z owns a top 100 company in the world, because they're all obsessed with themselves now. We're obsessed in this time with it's about me. I want to express myself. Nobody cares who Aaron Rodgers is. If Green Bay have any self-worth, and you see this in your personal lives, folks, anybody with self-worth will not stay in a toxic relationship. Green Bay are now trapped because Aaron Rodgers is the star. Move on. It'll hurt. And by the way, it hurts when you move on from talented people because that's what makes them great. But trust me, eventually, the culture of the Green Bay Packers will be strong enough to move on. And if Jordan Love's not the guy, you can draft somebody in 2-3 years' time You got Eli Man or the young Manning, Archie Manning is on his way. He's at Clemson now. He's impressing everybody. Of course, he will be the third in a line of Mannings. Well, fourth really, because their father was an institution as well. The Manning name lives on, and Archie Manning will be available in 3 or 4 years' time. The Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers will be just fine.
Nice analysis. I had no idea what you're talking about, but great stuff.
You got to learn. I mean, you work on sports.
I'm trying. NFL's hard for me.
Oh my God.
That was the last comment, by the way.
Well, Zapeta says, actually, James, please update yourself on American sports. You're a big-time journo. That research for Waka Waka proves that. No other show has revealed the meaning behind it. Exactly. So if you can research and find out that Shakira actually was an underground operative and was actually here to find herself a man. Hey, Shakira's the opposite of James. James says he's a single, independent woman. He don't need no man. Shakira said, I'm all about getting a man. And how smart's Shakira in hindsight? The biggest platform in the world is the World Cup. If you're going to advertise yourself as, hey, y'all, I'm out here being available and all that, what better way than being the person who sings the World Cup song to tell people to come here, waka waka What a smart woman.
She was like, Piqué, come here.
Yeah. As they say in Spain, muy bueno to Colombia's finest.
As they say in Spain, hola.
Yeah, they do say that. And shout out to Shakira taking over from cocaine for a little bit and being Colombia's finest for a little bit.
Well, look, you know, it's. I think it's nice for Colombia to be in the spotlight for a host of other reasons that aren't
narcotics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
Not that it's my place to say that. So.
Oh, but James, we know you're just toxic masculinity.
I am. I'm a sexist male with a large ego and
toxic.
I ooze toxic masculinity.
You do. You're tall. You're quite handsome, so that's a problem for society. What about me, James? Now I have to go and put a hashtag about body positivity because you got your hair on fleek, you got a handsome face, you've got a girlfriend, you're tall, you're imposing. What about me, James? Now, hashtag body positive. That's all I'm doing this afternoon because I need to feel better about being mediocre. I have to bring you down. You know what I mean?
Well, hashtag sounds like a you problem, not mine.
Toxic. James, you're going to get cancelled for that one. People say that's your problem. That's classic toxic masculinity. James, and on that note, we're going to have to end the show because I can't right now with the amount of toxicity.
Just too much toxicity, huh?
Jimbo, it's been real, pal. It's the 10th of June. We're halfway through the year. Congratulations on surviving into season 2 of COVID if you are listening to us. If you're still with us on YouTube, click like. There's a thumbs up at the bottom there. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you're new here, please subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. This is the best sports show that your friends have not heard yet. Like, share, subscribe. Be a friend, tell a friend. This is the MKT Show. That was toxicity personified. James Ilsley. My name is MKT. Ladies and gentlemen, for today, this has been the MKT Show. But for now, we are the hell out of here.